We are about to see a major shift in content that developers are allowed to create and publish on platforms like Steam, like Nintendo, like PlayStation, and I think that we are going to see so much censorship in the video game industry over the next couple of years due to all of these big adult game threats that we have been seeing pop up over the past couple of days. Nintendo is rolling out a new eShop publishing guideline that basically says they can ban overly sexual content, and now Steam is doing the same thing, threatening adult games in financial censorship move that cuts the smut. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, over the past couple of years that I have had this channel, I have talked dozens, honestly hundreds of times about video game censorship in the industry. I have talked about how platforms like PlayStation or Sony and platforms like Steam, which is Valve, are forcing developers to censor their content, yet they allow first-party developers to do whatever the heck they want. I think that it is ridiculous that there is so many double standards, but it is just the way that the industry has been, but I have tried to call it out all the time. So many other people have as well, but it looks like it's only going to get worse, that we are going to see adult content being censored because now not only is Nintendo changing their sensitive content guidelines, but Steam is doing something very similar. So I had posted a video on this. It will be linked down below, but just a couple days ago, I discussed how many of the new guidelines for Nintendo discuss sensitive content and include specific rules for what qualifies as sensitive content in the first place. Listed criteria that would be considered damaging to the Nintendo brand include sexualization of children, overly sexual content, discrimination and hate, exploitation of social issues, instructing criminal activity, and political statements. Now, I understand that a platform does not want straight up illegal content offered on their eShop or on their digital storefront, but we are talking about them going after what really boils down to overly sexual content. They are creating and updating these rules so that they can censor and ban any content they want that they do not agree with, anything that they think could damage their image, that could damage their reputation. And what falls under overly sexual content? That could be something like Cyberpunk, that could be something like The Witcher, that could be something like Elden Ring, that could be something that most individuals do not deem overly sexual content, but they can suddenly call it that. We could see cleavage covered up, we could see panty shots covered up, we could see sex scenes completely removed from games. Unfortunately, when a company releases broad guideline updates like this, it could be an extremely slippery slope. Now, maybe they're just putting these in place to protect themselves, but Nintendo, of course, back in the 90s was all about their family-friendly image. They did not allow sexual content, and I'd say over the past 5 to 10 years, right, they had actually become a little bit more lenient, and they had allowed much more adult content on something like the Switch, and then now we see them just doing a 180 back to the days where they would just not allow sexual content to really be published on their platforms, and they're going back to, I suppose, that family-friendly image, which I think is a really bad move for them. But we see the same thing happening with Steam now. So everyone knows that there's a seedy underbelly to Steam that's represented by thousands of adult-only games. Adult-only content is not bad content. If you do not want to consume adult-only content, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to click on those storefront pages. You do not have to monetarily support those developers. You do not have to consume that content. But when it comes to adult content, if someone wants to see it, they're going to find it. You can just literally go to Google and type in boobs, and boobs will pop up. You can go to Google and type in cock, and cock will pop up. Like, I don't know what it is about entertainment specifically that ends up getting censored so heavily. Yes, it's not going to be for everybody a smut game, but if it's rated properly, then it should be allowed up on a platform. It's just as simple as that. From the explicit sex simulators to the puzzlers that have you slowly uncover some lewd characters, adult games make up a vast portion of what's available on Valve's PC-only platform. However, a recent rule change that was slipped in and out of nowhere might aim to change that fact. Per a shadowy policy update, adult games are being scrutinized more intensely or being removed from the platform entirely in a move that some have dubbed financial censorship. This is so sad to see because, of course, I want everybody to be able to consume the content that they want to consume. We are talking about pixels on a screen. We are not talking about real people who are being harmed. We are talking about a virtual world with virtual people. And it's even worse that Nintendo and also Valve are silently updating their policies. They don't want to bring a lot of attention to this because, of course, it really just boils down to control for them. They want to be able to control what type of content adults see, which is terrible. Steam is the most popular storefront and launcher platform on PC for many reasons. One of the reasons is that it plays host to a vast and diverse library of adult-only games. There are the relatively tame games that simulate the slapping of butts and the violently sexual titles that are borderline concerning. It's a spectrum. In a recent change to their policies, it has been made clear that certain kinds of adult-only content are no longer welcome on the platform. In a subsection of the guidelines titled "What You Shouldn't Publish on Steam," it reads content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers, in particular, certain kinds of adult-only content, which is a major freaking problem because we have seen credit card companies even start denying Japanese content because they have deemed characters to look too young. We have seen credit card companies censor Japanese artists for absolutely insane reasons, and it seems that these are the types of groups and, of course, types of individuals and companies and organizations, right, that they're trying to appease. The most recent targets have been Ken Akamatsu's Manga Library Z, a website which hosted old and out-of-print manga as a method of archival and ad revenue sharing with artists, as well as Melon Books, a Japanese book retailer. Manga Library Z is being shut down entirely, unlike most websites targeted by payment processors. This time, even Japanese credit card companies joined in, according to Akamatsu. After the credit card companies pulled out, the only active form of payment processing left to them was BitCash, which couldn't sustain the site. So we're not talking about, again, overtly sexual, disgusting, degenerate, like borderline illegal content here. We're talking about old and out-of-print manga. And they had to shut their platform down because they couldn't deal with the financial struggles that came after the credit card companies basically blacklisted them and said, we will not work with you anymore. So if we're talking about old manga not being allowed, yeah, we're talking about nothing on Steam being allowed anymore if they do end up enforcing these rules, and I'm sure that they will because they wouldn't have added this if they didn't feel like it. And another major problem that they're facing right now is the scrutiny and criticism of feminists. We have seen quite a few emboldened feminist organizations melt down over Steam and certain content that is allowed on their platform, especially over the past year. But now, Collective Shout has posted an open letter to payment processors profiting from quote-unquote rape, incest, and child abuse games on Steam. And it seems that, again, Steam wants to, appease these types of people. They are demanding the payment processors to demonstrate corporate social responsibility and immediately cease processing payments on Steam, itch.io, and other platforms hosting similar games. So, of course, these feminists want complete and utter control, which has led to Valve and also Nintendo pushing for total and complete creative control. So now, even if something is properly rated by, let's say, the ESRB or Zero or PEGI, that means that it could still be banned because, well, Steam has decided that it's not proper. Nintendo has decided that it's not proper and they can ban whatever the heck they want, whenever the heck they want. And I am extremely worried about the future of entertainment. I will definitely be keeping my eye on this, and I'm sure covering it so much over the next couple of days and weeks, and I will will definitely try to keep you guys updated. But right now, Nintendo is updating their guidelines. Valve is updating their guidelines, all very quietly because they don't want a lot of attention brought to this, which is, yeah, extremely worrying. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.